Welcome to the latest edition of Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez alongside our NBA insider, Bill Ryder. Bill, as we are wont to do, a little soccer talk off the top of our show on basketball. I don't know if you saw the FA Cup this weekend, but Sixers owner Josh Harris, who also owns the Commanders and the Devils and whatever, he won the FA Cup with Crystal Palace. I'm rocking my Crystal Palace shirt today on behalf of Crystal Palace, who had never won anything, and somehow Josh Harris was there for them to win it, Bill.
You can't wear that. You have not slandered, but you don't like I've tried to tell you, Josh Harris doing a great job. Josh Harris doing a great job everywhere but the Sixers. Maybe it's a Sixers problem and not a Josh Harris problem, right? Maybe he's somewhere going, it's going well. The Commanders made the NFC Championship game. We just won our first major trophy. Why did I buy this Sixers team? What an albatross.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's a champion. Crystal Palace are champions, so congrats to them on the FA Cup victory. All right, later in our show, we're going to do Pacers and Knicks, Eastern Conference Final preview and predictions, and of course, we'll do our Western Conference Final preview and predictions. But first, Game 7 yesterday, Bill. You were on the call for that afterwards, post-game for HQ Nuggets and Oklahoma City. It was close for much of the first half until like the last 3 minutes, and then Oklahoma City hit the boosters, ended up winning this thing by 32. They advanced to the Western Conference Finals. Oklahoma City has now won 7 straight Game 7s. The Nugs are 0-5 all time on the road in Game 7s. Joker falls to 10-6 in elimination games. Bill, it was a 1-point game with 3 minutes left in the first half. I got up to get some water. I came back. I was like, what happened?
I mean, the Nuggets had a little bit of a lead. It was early in the game, but it sort of felt like, this experience thing. And then by the time it turned in the third quarter, I thought they might sort of tap me on the shoulder and be like, this John Gonzalez is our blowout correspondent. Because it feels like every HQ hit you do, it's a 30 or 40-point game. I don't know, John. I mean, you saw, I'm sure, Jokic talk afterwards about how deeper teams feel like the ones that are winning now. It seemed like they ran out of steam. Joker didn't assert himself for whatever reason. And the Thunder, to their credit, and we've been talking about this all year, that's a pretty good basketball team. They obviously proved in a pretty critical game and a pretty critical stretch that they're capable of handling the pressure and transferring their excellence in the regular season to the postseason. But yeah, it was not a great Game 7 after what would have been a pretty exciting series.
You know, a couple things that I want to unpack here, but what you were just talking about with Joker talking about how Oklahoma City is the deeper team. They obviously were the deeper team during the regular season, which during the regular season, that ends up to your benefit, right? Where you know, it's a long season, it's 82 games, having more guys and more bodies to throw out there so you don't drain your main guys in terms of minutes or energy is helpful. In the postseason, Bill, traditionally, we see teams tighten their rotation and go with 6, 7 guys, 8 at the most, right? Oklahoma City is just still playing the way that they play. Are we starting to reframe how we think about the postseason? And obviously, the Thunder are a different team. It's difficult to have, 9 playable guys the way that they do, but that depth that we previously maybe didn't value or undervalued in the postseason, are we now valuing it more?
I think what's going on is that it's Adam Silver's league now. And I know he's been the commissioner for a long time, but the changes that he wanted, which are a decade really in the making, have started to take hold. We're going to have a conversation later in the show about what the Celtics do. Why? Because the new CBA basically requires them to figure some things out and not to be the Bucks or the Suns. And in the same way, it is Adam Silver and his league office, John, as you know, that want guys to play a lot of games, that created the 65-game minimum threshold, that put a lot of pressure on teams behind the scenes. And frankly, the media, by the way, and how they try to sort of sell this idea that it's an entertainment and it's a business. And I think the result is that now you need deeper teams because guys have to play a lot more minutes. There are no LeBron James can sit a little bit more, or maybe a better example is the Spurs back in the day. And so I think the time of load management, be rested, and then you can roll out a small rotation is over. If these guys are going to be forced to or encouraged to play lots and lots of games and lots of minutes, you're going to want to have what I think the Pacers and the Thunder have, which is a lot of those players to spread it out and have less wear and tear. For me, at least, I think it's the direct result of the way that Silver has recalibrated how he wants the league to operate.
Yeah, I thought Game 7 was a really great example of what kind of team that Sam Presti has built in Oklahoma City, where it wasn't just that they went deep into their bag with their rotations, which they've done all season, but defensively they were fantastic. We know that they love to turn over the other team. Well, they did have forced 23 turnovers on the Nuggets, turned that into 37 points, Bill. Outrageous. They were also great on the fast break yesterday. They were great in the paint. It was just a really good Oklahoma City game and series, which brings me back to you and I had some questions about Oklahoma City when things got tough, when they got tight in the postseason. They won games 4 and 5. Both were close games. And then they win game 7, and it was a comfortable victory where they just absolutely manhandled and mauled the Nuggets. So I think you're right. They looked tired. I mean, at some point, like 2 straight game 7s, and like, how much can you ask Joker to do? And I wanted to get into Alex Caruso too, playing defense on him. But Bill, are you, in terms of, the questions that we had about Oklahoma City and their playoff mettle when things get tight, do you feel more comfortable about them now?
I do, and I think correctly some of the conversation about all 4 of these teams that have made it to their respective conference finals, John, it has centered around the idea that the healthiest teams, right, the most durable teams are there. Sure, that's part of it. You've also seen the clutchest teams, for lack of a better term. I mean, Anthony Edwards, even though he's had some shooting woes, has proven to be up to those moments. Halliburton's had those ridiculous buzzer beaters. Jalen Brunson is the clutch player of the year, played like it in the playoffs. And you noted that those Thunder wins in this series in games 4 and 5. I think there's an argument, John, that they shouldn't have won those games. They're the better team, right? They're the higher seed. They're the regular season behemoth. But Denver really almost gave those games away, but that's not it. The Thunder took them. I mean, the Thunder looked like the season team in those games where it felt like the Nuggets had the advantage, were the better team for long stretches, had the best player. So question answered, and not only answered, I think that Oklahoma City, have solidified themselves as one of the few teams, and I think it's all the teams that are left, that you look at and you say, wow, over the course of these playoffs, which have had a lot of parity, even in the East, which we didn't expect, they are one of those squads that just went out there and found a way to win games maybe they shouldn't have, and to dominate in critical moments, including that game 7, where in the second quarter they closed the gap and then just kept on keeping on.
Yeah, I mean, after the first round where they just demolished the Grizzlies, I wasn't sure what to expect. And, they lose game 1 on their floor on that Aaron Gordon shot. And you're like, uh-oh, that could throw them a little bit. You're right. Game 4 and 5, the Nuggets gave it away, but they also took it. And then I wanted to see how they responded after game 6 when they played terribly. They missed 13 straight threes at one point down the stretch. They were, 2 of 12 from deep in the fourth quarter of game 6. And now all of a sudden you got to go back to Oklahoma City with Denver having the momentum. And I'm like, oh man, this is a young squad. And the lights are going to be awfully bright for game 7. And you and I both took the Nuggets in that game, and the Thunder were like, about that, not going to be a problem for us. It was pretty easily. Yeah, that was wrong answer by you guys.
And by the way, shout out. God. You read, but we spent too much time together, because I was about to say shout out to Jalen Williams. Please continue. Yeah, because you're right.
No, same thought, right? I mean, he was terrible in game 6, and he played defense, and he rebounded and passed the ball well. All things that are important in basketball games. He was bad scoring the ball, and frequently this season, and certainly in the playoffs, and certainly in this series, SGA has been pretty consistent in the series in terms of scoring the basketball. But Jalen Williams had that big game 3 that they lost, where he had a playoff career high. What was it? 32 points. Last night, though, after the bad game 6, comes back for 24, 5, and 7, a steal. He looked really good. He was efficient. That's the Jalen Williams moving forward, especially, and we'll get to the Wolves series. But I wanted to see how he responded. He looked good last night.
And by the way, and this is what leaders do, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander specifically name-checked him after the game as, this is what he can do, this is what he's about, we believe in all that stuff, but it's real. And I think he made a great point, and I want to sort of draw a line to this too, because another thing about the teams that are largely, I think, in these conference finals, and specifically the Thunder, and you already said this, I just want to say it again, is their front office has understood, I think, the CBA and the way that it was going to change the physics of team building in a way that maybe some of the other teams did not. And I think that's true of the Pacers. I think that congratulations to the Knicks on what they've built. Minnesota moving on from Karl-Anthony Towns and that working out for everybody. But what Presti has done with the Thunder, and the fact that they're the best team in the least flexible era that I can remember in the NBA, and they still have their own level, probably the most flexibility of any teams. The fact that they're good enough to make it here as constructed, and that they can reconstruct themselves if they want to going forward, is a scary thought for the rest of the league.
Yeah, one of the guys that Sam Presti identified during the offseason was Alex Caruso. And man, did he pay dividends, not just in this series, but especially in game 7, where we were talking about game 7 adjustments for Oklahoma City. And would they move Lou Dort out of the starting lineup and put Caruso in? They decided not to go that way. But they did have an interesting wrinkle yesterday, which is that they threw Alex Caruso at Joker yesterday. And now he was awfully handsy. He was definitely very handsy on this, but he was giving away, what was it, like 6 inches and 100 pounds, Bill? And it was just, This is a team that has Hartenstein and Chet and the other Jalen Williams, Jay Will, and all of them had time on Joker during the series. And Joker still almost went for a triple-double, but he only took 9 shots yesterday, Bill. And I thought that a lot of that was Alex Caruso just fronting him and making it really difficult for Joker to get into a rhythm. And that was a guy that they got for Josh Giddey and no picks. And when Josh Giddey was out of favor with them, was falling out of the playoff rotation last season, and Sam Presti stole him from the Bulls, and he immediately paid dividends in the postseason.
And Joker uncharacteristically had five, I think, turnovers, and some of them were bad turnovers at kind of moments where they're trying to build a little bit of momentum. Yeah, I mean, Alex Caruso, big defender, big killer. I mean, what is the entire NBA is upside down? But you're right. I mean, that is another thing that the Thunder have done, and really almost every one of these teams. I keep going back to this, just the way that all these teams have added, or a few of them, these supplemental pieces that have come. I guess Cat's not a supplemental piece, but nor is Bridges. But like, it's the Thunder just fine-tuned, didn't overreact. Last year took their time to see what they had, and I mean, we knew Caruso was good. It is amazing when he steps into a team with a lot of other like remarkable defenders, how he just feels like he's leveled up even from what he did in Chicago. And I thought he was really good in Chicago, just sort of unnoticed because of where he was playing.
Yeah, the Thunder organization is really loaded top to bottom. Let's take a quick break. On the other side, we'll talk a little bit more about the Thunder and the Nuggets. And the Nuggets, and while we're talking about team building, Bill, this offseason, they clearly need to get some help for Joker, but that could be easier said than done. We'll discuss that on the other side. This is Beyond the Arc on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. Just going through Game 7 here. Oklahoma City is moving on. The Nuggets are not, Bill. We just were lauding Oklahoma City for playing really well. They played great defense. Conversely, the Nuggets, who are a great offensive team, were not great on Sunday in Game 7. Sub 40% from the floor, 22% from 3. I mentioned the turnovers. They were awful at handling the ball. Joker, only got up 9 shots. Jamal Murray was out there after the Game 6 illness. I think this highlights, as we get into a discussion about what needs to happen for Denver during the offseason, Gordon was questionable with a hamstring injury, Bill. He was fantastic during the postseason. Like, all credit to him for even getting out there and playing 25 minutes, and he had 11 rebounds, and he was doing everything that he could. He's hobbling up and down the floor on one leg, Bill. If that doesn't underscore the roster construction problems that the Denver Nuggets have, where Aaron Gordon, who should not have been playing yesterday, had to be like their 3rd or 4th best guy yesterday, is a problem.
Easily. So something we do in the media, and I do too, is we sort of jump on the news, we talk about it, and then we move on. I just want to circle back to when Michael Malone and Calvin Booth, the GM, got fired. I still don't know if Michael Malone should have been fired. I don't know. Calvin Booth needed to be fired. This roster construction and the way that they have handled, by the way, very similar, and he just got an extension. I like the guy, but very similar to John Horst, the GM in Milwaukee, with Giannis. I mean, the Nuggets aren't the only team that have gotten caught in this apron trap, and not the only team that have got caught in it with a superstar where they were trying to sort of maintain the level of excellence that got them a championship and then screwed everything up. The roster's bad. And just watching the game and watching the way that I don't think it was an effort thing. I don't think it was Joker saying to hell if I want to drink beer and play with horses or go ride horses or whatever the hell he did. I think he was tired. And I think he ran out of energy. And I think he was worn down. And there haven't been reinforcements for a long time. And I think that's been a little obscured. I know we've talked about it, but a little covered up and eclipsed by the fact that Joker would just go do 40, 20, and 10. But at this point of the season, against the best defense in the NBA and this really ferociously talented Thunder team, he just doesn't have the help that he needs. And you said this earlier, I don't know how they fix this, but they need to fix it because Joker did not look happy afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, look, Aaron Gordon, I thought this was one of his best seasons.
Gordon was great.
Playoff career highs in points and rebounds, and he fixed his shot where he was a terrible 3-point shooter and had a career high in shooting from deep. And Jamal Murray had some good moments, and Christian Brown had some good moments. It's after those first 4 guys where you go, because after those first 4 guys, it's really like, okay, you got some Russ, and Russ has a player option for next season. It's only like $3 million and change. Maybe he played himself out of that, and somebody would offer him more money. It's $3.4 million. I don't know. It's a good spot for him, so maybe he stays put. But Michael Porter Jr. was dealing with a shoulder injury. You and I have not been high on him for a while now. I don't think he played well pretty much at all. And then after that, it really falls off a cliff to the point where in game 6, you needed a massive effort from Julian Strawther, who was really out of the rotation. He had, 15 points in game 6. He played 18 minutes, Bill, in game 7. They were trying to catch lightning again. They didn't. He only had 6 points. And then when you were mentioning Calvin Booth, I mean, he paid Zeke Naji. He still has 3 years left on his deal,
Right.
Bill, at an average of $7.5 million. Zeke Naji, who, if anybody had remembered that Zeke Naji was still on the roster, they were a better man than me, because I forgot about it until the other day when I went to look through their finances.
And by the way, that was one of the sources of contention with Malone, was some of these guys that Booth gave contracts to, it turns out he shouldn't have. Booth's argument internally was, well, you're not playing them enough, right? It was sort of like what went on with the Warriors, only contentious and not on the same page. Can I just, not push back, but I just point out about Jamal Murray? You're right, John. He did have some good games. And it's not as if Calvin Booth should have traded Jamal Murray or shouldn't have given the contract that he has. But there's no margin for error because Jamal Murray was not consistently great, and he needs to be. I mean, what did he go 1 for 8 from 3-point line yesterday, or something along those lines? He did not shoot well. There were times where he was hunting his shots over the series where he had some confidence, where he played well, but there were also times where he just vanished or looked like Russell Westbrook as a shooter, and so
it was inefficient,
wildly inefficient, and so it's that sort of performance. If Joker had those kind of games, we would say, well, there's no chance Denver can win. If Joker's off, the team's off because the team's not very good. I know he's not Joker, but Jamal Murray is supposed to be a co-star, even if he's a lesser star. I mean, he is. And so everything went wrong. Jamal Murray had a great playoff run a couple years ago when they won a title. It was a great run. He has been injured and inconsistent at times in the regular season. And after this playoff run, I don't know that the idea that Jamal Murray is a sure thing, he's going to go to that next place he needs to in the playoffs kind of player. They need a lot of help in Denver, and I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that I was so focused on, oh no, the drop off after the first 4 guys, and I'm including Christian Brown as their 4th guy and not MPJ, that I just thought, like, okay, they have more and bigger problems than Jamal Murray. But you're right about that, because what was it? Game 5, he didn't have a good game 5. He had 28 points on 27 shots. I generally think that they're playing at their best when he's hunting shots, so I was almost willing to forgive that. And then in game 6, he was questionable with that illness where he looked absolutely miserable, and they had to give him IVs and meds, and he played 42 minutes and had 25 points. So it's kind of like, I give him credit, but you're right. Long term, for that team to be good, Jamal Murray needs to be the Jamal Murray of 2 years ago when they won the championship and he was hitting killer shots and he was Mr. Clutch in the postseason. Because in the regular season, we know what Jamal Murray is. I mean, it's not necessarily his fault, because he plays in the Western Conference and it's very difficult to get an all-star bid in the Western Conference, but he's never going to be an all-star. And so he at least has to play like the more consistent Jamal Murray that we've seen from him in the past, instead of, the periodically inconsistent Jamal Murray. And in this series, he was periodically inconsistent. And when you get to, your third guy being Aaron Gordon, who's limping up and down the court with one leg, yeah, you need a superstar. And he wasn't a superstar in this series. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll close with this, because I don't want us to be pick on Jamal Murray Day, but I'll also point out that when you're playing with an all-time great, I think we can agree that Joker falls into that category now. He's at that level. Those guys tend to raise the level of the players around them. And so a lot of times the Jamal Murrays of the world play better or at a better level because things are so much easier, because there's so much attention. And in Joker's case, I mean, he's always going to find you. The guy's got eyes in the back of his head. And so being inconsistent while you're playing with Joker does not bode well. And I wonder if you sub someone else in who was more consistent, who was a better, I'm starting to rethink my confidence in Jamal Murray from a few years ago, where it's like, oh, he's one of the key guys too. He was the best version of the players that had the benefit of playing with Joker.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation for the Nuggets heading into the offseason. They've got to decide if Adam is going to be their main guy. I suspect that he will be hired and having the interim tag taken off, and he'll be the head coach. And then who's going to be in the front office to decide what's going to happen with MPJ? Do they unplug him? And Julian Strawther, does he need more minutes? And oh, by the way, can we get off of Zeke Naji somehow? Thank you very much, Calvin Booth, for that disaster. But yes, it's they definitely need to get Nikola Jokic some help. All right, let's take another break. And then on the other side, we're going to get into a little preview. The Wolves have been eagerly awaiting who they will play in the Western Conference Finals. It's going to be Oklahoma City. I think it's going to be a fantastic series. We're going to get into the matchups, who we like, who we don't like. We'll do series predictions. All that's coming up. Don't go anywhere. This is Beyond the Arc on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. A reminder, we are also a podcast. You can find us wherever you get your favorite shows. Please download, subscribe, and leave a review. We're into the Western Conference Finals, Bill. Halfway through the playoffs, it will be the number 6 seed Wolves and the number 1 seed Oklahoma City. Game 1 is on Tuesday. This is the first Western Conference Finals for Oklahoma City since 2016. Back-to-back Western Conference Finals for those Wolves. Just a first thought here, Bill. Oklahoma City, if there's any team that can come off a 7-game series against the Nuggets and immediately throw themselves into a series with the rested Wolves who have not played in a week, I would think it would be Oklahoma City, right? Because they're young and they're deep.
Yeah, they're young, they're deep, they don't know better. But I mean, it's not an easy challenge. I mean, rest obviously has become a significant factor. But you're right. This would be a very different thing if it were, I don't know, the Lakers who had to rely on 40-year-old LeBron James. The Nuggets, yeah, you're right. If it were the Nuggets, especially as gassed as Joker looked at the end of that series.
Yeah, Joker gassed, Aaron Gordon on one leg, MPJ with one shoulder that he can raise above his head. That would be disastrous. Instead, though, we're getting Oklahoma City and a rested Wolves team. The rest versus rust conversation generally tires me, but in this instance,
I don't care.
The Wolves. Yeah, the Wolves, but they won first series in 5 games. They won the second series in 5 games, and they were playing good basketball, and they were doing it, as you pointed out previously, without Ant playing his best basketball. I think, if you're Minnesota, you're the 6th seed, but everything really, I'm not saying that, there's no momentum for Oklahoma City. I'm just saying if you're the Wolves, everything that you can control, you're coming into this feeling pretty good about yourself.
Clearly the Thunder are the favorites. This is not in either of these series, but in the series we're talking about, this is not unwinnable for Minnesota by any stretch. And I think I'm with you. I tend not to be particularly interested in the rust versus rest argument. Teams want to get there. They get there how they get there. I don't think it particularly matters, but let's say that we're wrong and there is a little bit of an impact of having some time off. I think the fact that the Timberwolves were in the conference finals last year, know what it's about, know what it feels like, have been there, have done that, have that experience, probably negates whatever impact there is of the rust, if in fact there is an impact.
As you mentioned, Oklahoma City is the favorite, pretty heavy favorite here too, Bill. -390. Wolves are +310. I was kind of surprised by that, just because, again, the Wolves are playing really excellent basketball, and Oklahoma City is coming off of a 7-game series that wasn't exactly easy for them. You mentioned the Wolves going to back-to-back conference finals and them knowing what it's about, what it takes, and them not getting over the hump last year and wanting to correct course on that. This is there, we just spent a whole segment or a couple segments on Oklahoma City really acquitting themselves well in the playoffs and wanting to see what would happen when they had to play a tough series. Is there another level up that they have to find just because it's the conference finals, or do we think at this point it's all just the playoffs?
Look, I think there's a lot. My personal view, and this is just based on talking to people who have won or failed to win these things, is every sort of move up the rung, up the ladder is a little more difficult, feels a little more, I was going to say pressure filled, but I think it depends on the player. Some people thrive in that. Some guys love it and some don't. But yeah, I think it's another level, but I think the Thunder have proved that they can handle it. I think that if Oklahoma City was not going to live up to how great they were in the regular season and they were going to prove themselves to not have sort of the experience yet to make good on their talent, that would have happened by now. But as we discussed already in the show, winning games 4 and 5, dominating the game 7 when they weren't down a lot, but they were, Denver was playing them tough in that up to that second quarter. They are good enough. And I think that the other sort of factor in this is that Anthony Edwards, as you noted, John, hasn't shot well. But if I had to power rank the players who I trust the most in the fourth quarter or in a game 7 or a big game to take over, and look, Brunson gets votes and Halliburton gets votes and Shea gets votes, but I would feel pretty comfortable putting Anthony Edwards really high on that list. And so the OKC's, I think, going to have to be up to that level because they're going to be challenged. They're going to be pushed. And even though it's the 6th seed, I think this is clearly the best team they'll have faced yet in the playoffs, which is how it's supposed to work, obviously, as you move on.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Ant because he didn't shoot the ball well in the postseason so far, and yet he adjusted his game. We've criticized Jason Tatum and other players for just playing their game and being really stubborn about it. And obviously, this season put a real emphasis on shooting three-pointers, and the three-pointer just wasn't falling for him in this previous series against the Warriors, but he really adjusted it. And then that Game 5 closeout, he had a playoff career-high 12 assists. Now, he had 7 turnovers, and that's something that I wanted to get into because as we've seen with Oklahoma City, nobody is better at forcing turnovers than Oklahoma City, and nobody's better at capitalizing off of those turnovers and turning them into points than Oklahoma City. Ant has to be better there. Like, I'm with you on him as a closer. He's a fantastic player. I can't wait to see the matchup with him at SGA. And there's so many different matchups that I'm excited about on this. But Ant is, for him to take that next step forward where he is one of the faces of the league, and I know he doesn't want to be the face of the league, but this playoff moment against the number 1 seed, where you're the 6th seed and you're Anthony Edwards and you were just like at the Olympics and, knocking around with all these guys that they were your childhood heroes. I want to see him like really take over in this series. And for him to do that, he's really got to take care of the ball.
I mean, I think for the Timberwolves to win this series, here's a obvious alert. He's got to be dominant in several games, and that dominance includes exactly what you're talking about. He's got to make the guys run it better. He's got to be so good that they've got to pay way too much attention to him and create some gravity, and he's got to protect the ball. I want to ask you a question. So you asked me if I think that what I've seen from the Thunder now makes me believe that they can handle the moment, and my answer is yes. We discussed a lot Julius Randle, I think correctly so, being historically poor in terms of his efficiency, historically bad in the playoffs. And incorrectly, we both wanted to DNP him for the entire season when he came back from injury earlier this year. But I mean, even with like the apology, Randall, I'm sorry, I'm sure John's sorry, we are sorry. He's been amazing. Are you confident that that's actually who he is going into this series? Because that's a big factor too.
I'm confident that he will play the way that he's been playing in terms of his approach. I think that he's been less of a black hole on offense where it's just, I'm going to score and not ever pass the ball. He's been a much better passer. We saw how good he was passing the ball in the series against the Warriors. I'm less confident that it will result in the same production just because defensively, Bill, and this is what I was looking at, like things that I'm excited about in terms of matchups, SGA against Ant and Jalen Williams against Jaden McDaniels. Who gets the guarding assignment on Julius Randle? And it won't just be one person. And they have like 3-4 guys that they can throw at him at any time that will like be probably pretty fast. You could throw Chet and Hartenstein and Jalen Williams and do everything Swiss Army knife Alex Caruso. I don't love this for Julius Randle is my answer.
I mean, the problem becomes, no, you're right. And that's the thing about the Thunder that makes them so dangerous is you can name an important player on any team in the NBA, and certainly the teams that remain, and you can name 1, 2, 3, 4 people that the Thunder have they can throw at them. I mean, they are defensively, Oklahoma City is so good and so deep. They can switch everything basically. So yeah, it'll be interesting how Minnesota. By the way, and also I think Chris Finch has absolutely proven himself to be a very impressive coach. And with all due respect to Oklahoma City's coach and Dagnall, he's got a great team. He's been great in the regular season, but that's where I'm interested in sort of how the playoffs impact things. Because if I had to pick one guy who's going to make the adjustments game to game, I know Finch can do it because I've seen it. I thought Mark Dagnall looked a little nervous at times over the course of the last series in some of those post-game press conferences.
I think so too. Although he did cook up, I'm going to throw Alex Caruso at Joker, and it ended up working better than I thought it would. And you know what? The reverse is true. I'm glad that you brought up Chris Finch and the adjustments because it's not just who Oklahoma City can throw at Julius Randle. I do think that's a problem, but the Wolves are like uniquely suited to do the same to Oklahoma City. Like all of a sudden, okay, Jalen Williams, what are you going to do with Jaden McDaniels on you? He is as big, as athletic, as fast, as good defensively as anybody in the NBA. And Jalen Williams has been, as we said, kind of inconsistent. Okay, Chet, now all of a sudden you're going to have like just a whole bunch of guys thrown at you that include Nas and Julius Randle, Hartenstein and Gobert, that matchup. And then bench for bench, we talk about how deep Oklahoma City is with Caruso and Kason Wallace and Wiggins as the first guys off their bench and at times Isaiah Joe. Well, okay, Nas, Dante DiVincenzo, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker have been excellent off the bench. Like, there's a lot of different matchup combinations that the Wolves can throw in the reverse. So I want to see whether or not Jalen Williams principally and Chet Holmgren principally are going to be able to provide the offense that they provided at times when they're going to have some really difficult defensive matchups coming their way.
I am so excited for this series, and we'll do predictions as we go, but I do think there's an argument that the winner of this series is probably the winner of the whole thing. And for me, certainly whoever wins in the Western Conference would be the favorite, in part because there's only two teams that are left in the playoffs who had a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. And the Thunder, the obvious one, they were top 3 in both. They're amazing. It sort of gets lost in the shuffle because they finished as the 6th seed. The other one's the Timberwolves. I mean, what you just walked us through just sort of speaks to the fact they are a really balanced team. They are great on both sides of the ball, and they have the personnel that sort of backs it up. And so you're right, like the individual matchups in this series and the ways in which they're going to have to sort of adjust to each other, it's going to be chess, not checkers over the course of what feels like it'll be a really long series. And it's been a great playoffs. Almost every series has been thrilling. I think this is a series of every single one on paper that I've looked forward to the most so far.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I'm glad that you mentioned that whoever comes out of this will be the favorite. Let's take a quick break. On the other side, we'll look at those NBA championship odds. We still need to do a pick for the series. We'll do a pick for the series, and then we'll preview the teams that one of these teams will face in the finals. We'll do an Eastern Conference Finals preview between the Pacers and the Knicks, which should also be really good. That's coming up on the other side. This is Beyond the Arc on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. A reminder, you can also find us on YouTube at Beyond the Arc CBS. Please hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe. If you click on the bell symbol, you'll get notified when we go live. We will be live tomorrow night following Game 1 of Wolves in Oklahoma City. So come and join us over there on YouTube at Beyond the Arc CBS. All right, Bill, Western Conference Final prediction. I'm surprised that the odds are so heavily in favor of Oklahoma City. I know that they're the 1 seed, but minus 390 and then plus 310 for the Wolves feels pretty heavy for me. I know which way I'm leaning. Which way are you going? Are you surprised by the odds here?
I am, but no doubt, utter confidence. Mark it down, but don't hold me accountable. Timberwolves in 6. Minnesota's going to the finals.
Okay, I feel
good about it.
I've been on Oklahoma City all year and said that they were going to come out of the Western Conference. I'm not going to change it now. I love that you're going with the Wolves. I think the Wolves, just for like aesthetic entertainment purposes, like we were just talking about it in the break. If it was all of a sudden a Wolves Knicks finals where you got Aiton in the Garden and Julius Randle goes back to New York and now Cat is in Minnesota, that would be entertainment wise the one that I want the most. I'm going to stick with Oklahoma City though. I'm going to take them in 6 games. I think they're the better team, but it's going to be a really close series and a good series. Go ahead.
You really went on a limb there. I mean, you went far on that. No, I mean, the Thunder are the best team left. Here's what I don't know. And I'm not taking anything away from you Thunder fans. I used to live in Oklahoma City, go Oklahoma City, love Oklahoma City. It turned out the Grizzlies were garbage and trash. They were trash, right? So, okay, it's hard to make assessments on that. And we've already discussed the fact that Denver's not very good. I don't think the Nuggets are very good. They're not very well constructed. They fired their coach and GM for a reason. Joker looked gassed. MPJ can't shoot even when he has 2 healthy shoulders. Jamal Murray's not consistent. Russ became Russ again. And they still took the Thunder to 7. And that's not a shot at the Thunder. I just think that the Timberwolves are a much better team than the Nuggets. And I think maybe that experience from last year is going to help. So it's a small advantage, but I don't know. I have a gut feeling on the Timberwolves.
I think everything you said is right about the Wolves being the best team that they faced so far, no doubt. And it would not surprise me if the Wolves come out of the Western Conference. They've been really good. I'm not going to be mad at either of these two teams making the conference finals. I suspect that the league, I mean, they're the number 1 seed. I'm sure that the league is happy that SGA, who's the presumptive MVP, didn't lose in the second round. Like that probably wouldn't look great, but now we'll see who comes out of the Western Conference. In the Eastern Conference, Bill, get an old school matchup from the 90s here. The Pacers, the 4 seed against the Knicks, the 3 seed. The Knicks beat the Celtics in 6 games. Hobbled Celtics team, but still, they won the series. Really good. Feels like we haven't seen the Pacers in like 2 months. They haven't played basketball in forever. They beat the Cavs in 5. They've just been home resting. Talk about rest versus rust. But Bill, they are going to their 2nd straight Eastern Conference Finals, whereas the Knicks, this is their first Eastern Conference Finals since 2000. First time they had closed out at home since 1999. These two old rivals played 6 times during the 90s from 1993 to 2000. I used to love those series. I think this one's going to be really good.
I do too. And by the way, the Pacers also just a little love for Cleveland. Cleveland was a little banged up too, right? Darius Garland's injury,
Sure.
Mobley missing time. But so it's, but you play who's in front of you. And credit to the Knicks, they felt like they were on track to win that series even before Tatum went down to injury. And I know that Kristaps Porzingis has whatever's going on, right? Sort of an uncertain sort of energy level. I mean, he doesn't know why or what's happening. I find this series really, really hard to pick. And I'll keep citing this stat that I brought up, I think, every day for the last 2 months. Since mid-December, 60 games of the regular season, and now including the playoffs, John, the Pacers are a top 4 team in net rating, in offense, in wins. They're not quite that in defense, but they are in the top 10. I think they're 7th or 8th over that stretch. So even though if you sort of go to Basketball Reference and you look up the Pacers and you go, oh, they're okay defensively, you sort of throw away those first 20 games for whatever reason they didn't click, it didn't work. They have been elite. They have been what the Thunder were, not quite the Thunder, but certainly what the Cavs were and the Celtics were over the course of the regular season. So it's, in fact, they have almost the exact same numbers of the Cavs over 64 games that the Cavs had over 82. And so this is a Pacers team that's really, really good. New York gets a lot more attention. They have a lot more shine. They have Jalen Brunson. They play in the Garden. They have this sort of legion of very loud fans in the media and just generally in sort of the basketball universe and NBA Twitter. I don't know which way I'm going to pick because I don't know if I have the guts to go Pacers, but they're both good enough to win this. And I'm with you. And they both have a chip on their shoulder and feel disrespected. It's going to be a great series.
Yeah, I'm sure that Knicks fans are still, coping with the hangover from winning and advancing to the Eastern Conference Final. I don't know that they were quite tuned into how good this Pacers team has been. I don't know that casual basketball fans are tuned in to how good the Pacers have been. I think you're right. The Knicks get all the attention. Obviously, they're the Knicks. They're in New York. They haven't been to the conference finals in 25 years. All the celebrities that you mentioned, they're pulling Timothée Chalamet out of a car on the street because everybody was celebrating, right? Like it's a vibe right now in New York, and that's awesome. And it's going to lend to all the excitement and the entertainment value of the series. But there's a reason why this series, in terms of the odds, is really close. It's Knicks minus 148, Pacers plus 126. I think it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight. You had mentioned, Bill, that the NBA championship odds, whoever comes out of the West is going to be the favorite. That's correct. Oklahoma City has got the shortest odds in terms of winning the championship, followed by the Wolves, then the Knicks at plus 600, and then the Pacers at plus 800. It's going to be the 7th straight year that we have a new champion in the NBA. No back-to-back champions for 7 straight years. It's never happened in league history. This is the first time. So the Knicks haven't won a championship, Bill, since 1973. The Wolves, Oklahoma City, and the Pacers never have, with an asterisk, unless you're counting the Sonics being Oklahoma City, which happened in 79. And then the Pacers have 3 old ABA championships. The point here is that none of these teams have either ever done it or haven't done it for a very long time. Is that you mentioned Adam Silver's NBA earlier.
Yeah.
The league parity is definitely something that he wanted. Do we like this? I think it's spectacular.
It's great for the league. Yeah. So this is absolutely Adam Silver's creation. Now, is it great for the league in 2025? I think that remains to be seen. I would love to see Pacers Thunder. The casual fan, my buddies in Dubuque, Iowa, who sort of watch the NBA, probably aren't as interested in that as you and I are. However, and maybe I'm being Pollyannish and way too optimistic, I think part of what Silver is doing is playing the long term. The reason, to my mind, that the NFL is a dominant sport in this country and that baseball is not, outside of it's don't get mad at me, Matt Snyder and baseball people. It's a big sport, but it's bigger. Like baseball does great ratings locally and doesn't do great ratings nationally. NBA has similar rating problems. Why? Because you can have whole organizations that can go a generation without really being competitive, and you can lose fan bases. And it's right when you sort of things feel predestined, they're not as interesting. And that's been a problem in the NBA for a long time. Some of that was Steph and LeBron. Some of that was just how I think the CBA was constructed. So to answer your question, yeah, I think it's great for the league. But I think the fruits of that maybe are 5 or 6 years from now, because if you start to have casual fans who realize there's great basketball in places that aren't Los Angeles and Miami and wherever else, and you start to accept the idea that these series are competitive and you don't know who's going to win in a first round series or a second round series where you used to sort of be like, it's a no brainer who's getting through. I just think it makes the sport a lot more interesting. Now, if it's Knicks Timberwolves, all the good stuff starts now and they sort of reap the benefits, I think, early on. But regardless, I think what Silver has done and what he's wrought for the NBA is going to be very effective for growing the sport over a 5 or 10-year timeline.
Yeah, towards the end of that Warriors dynasty, I was super done with it. I was super done to like,
no,
it was just like, just knowing it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to get out of the Western Conference and end up playing in Cleveland, and we're going to do it again and see how it goes. And maybe LeBron and Cleveland could maybe pull it off. That's just like it takes some of the fun of sports is not knowing what's going to happen. For example, we opened the show, Crystal Palace winning an FA Cup for the first time ever. That's super fun, as opposed to Man City just being like, oh, they're dominant and they win everything, and like nobody else can have any chance of doing this. And that's why having these 4 teams as the final 4 teams, I'm super into it. But you're right. If it's Oklahoma City and Indiana in the finals, you and I and everybody else who covers basketball here at CBS Sports, we're going to love it. It's going to be fantastic basketball. I don't think the ratings would end up loving that. Conversely, man, can you imagine Wolves and Knicks? You've got Ant trying to cook in the Garden and Julius Randle back in New York and Cat going back to Minnesota, and it's the everybody won the trade series, and who wins this thing, and the Wolves have never won it, and the Knicks haven't won anything since 73. That would be such a Adam Silver is probably praying to whatever basketball god he prays to that happens, because that would be fantastic for the ratings. It would be really great for the league. I'm fingers crossed. I'm not sure I'm going that way in terms of my series pick, but man, that would be amazing for us to watch.
The conspiracy theories about the officiating in advance, because it would be. And by the way, Julius Randle and Cat, wouldn't it be amazing if that series came down to which of those guys outperformed the other over the course of a couple games? And if it was Julius Randle and not Karl Anthony Towns, give it to me.
The storylines for that series would be so incredible, which is why we're getting Oklahoma City and the Pacers. I'm just pointing that out ahead of time. All right, quick timeout. And then on the other side, we need to do a series pick for the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll do that coming up. And then we'll talk a little Boston Celtics and what's going to happen with their offseason. It's going to be a tough one for them. This is Beyond the Arc on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. Just wrapping up the show with a little Pacers and Knicks Eastern Conference Finals. Bill, the series starts on Wednesday. So as I mentioned, the Pacers have not played in forever. Game 1 odds, Knicks are -4.5. And then the series odds, Knicks are -148, Pacers are +126. So very, very close here. How are you feeling about game 1? Knicks coming off of that momentous advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time ever. And then what are you going to do in terms of picking the series?
I want to take the Pacers. I don't think I have the guts. I think I probably should take the Pacers, but it has been my life's dream as an NBA person to cover a single finals game at the Garden. And I think I'm getting caught up in the hype and the glitter and the glow and the shine, but I'll take here's my old Knicks in 7, which means I don't know. Okay. I think it's actually Pacers in 6, but I'm going to go on the record. Knicks and that's a tough series, John. I'm going Knicks in 7. Final answer.
For all the reasons we mentioned before we went to break, from a basketball entertainment perspective, no doubt about it, the Knicks would be the better choice to move on. I just think you were the one who was on the Pacers this entire time and were early on it, and you sold me on it. So, Bill, you read my mind. I'm going Pacers in 6 in this series. I think that they're the better basketball team. They're the deeper basketball team. They don't have all this like nonsense swirling, or not nonsense. And also Tibbs, we didn't even get to Tibbs playing his guys in game 6 deep into game 6. So, yeah, Bill, I'm going to go Pacers in 6 on this, but I think it's going to be a very good series.
I think you're right and I'm wrong. That's what I think. I'm with you.
I mean, the Knicks, despite the fact that they won in 6 games, I think it'll be the more tired team, because like we got to on a future show discuss what happened with Tibbs playing his guys deep into a game that was already in hand in game 6, and Jalen Brunson and Rick Brunson coming over and begging him to get him out. Anyway, we got to go. For our NBA insider Bill Ryder, I'm John Gonzalez. We're going to be back tomorrow right here on CBS Sports Network at 1 p.m. Eastern. So come and join us for that. But for now, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.